Okay folks, welcome to the University of Stirling, which unusually is in Bridgevallen. I suppose that's part of Stirling, but there you go. It's 12th of August 2010, and today I'm very fortunate to capture the time of Mike Cusack. Mike's from Houston, Texas. He might correct me there, but there we go, that's what the interviewing's about. A very famous piper for several decades, and well renowned for the preparation of both himself and the bagpipe for solo piping, but he's got other strings to his bow, as we shall find out. So I've got this interview. Thanks very much for being interviewed, piperspersuasion.com. And what I'd like to do this morning, just to kick things off, a wee chronological thing. Who are you? Where were you born? When did you start playing bagpipes? Who were your influences in piping? Just give me a wee story.
Right. Well, as you said, I'm from Houston, Texas, and funny enough, I was born in Zurich, Switzerland. My parents were over there at the time I was born. But grew up in Houston and went to St. Thomas Episcopal School as a child. Did all my schooling there, and that's where I was introduced to the bagpipe. The founder of the school, a guy named T. Robert Ingram, priest who founded the school, Anglican priest, he decided he wanted a pipe band. He thought that was the coolest thing in the world, and he got his faculty to learn enough to be dangerous, and convinced these Texan boys to put on a kilt, you know, and that was quite an accomplishment in itself.
Okay.
Back in the early '60s. So started that, and that's where I started learning, and really just thought this was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to, at the time, be taught by Donald Shaw Ramsey.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I've been very fortunate from day one to have excellent instruction, and I think that's made all the difference in the world for me.
And he was quite a professional too, eh?
Oh, he was a taskmaster, you know.
Yeah.
We would have these sessions. He would come in and he'd put down tunes that he'd handwritten out, tunes like Frank Thompson, John Gordon, the You at the Crooked Horn, the Smith, 8 parts of the Smith, and he'd come in and say, have this learned tomorrow, have this learned tomorrow. If you didn't have it learned, you're out.
Okay.
And so as a kid, I thought, I gotta learn this. And so really shown what excellence was, I think, from the
What
very
age
beginning.
were you?
I was 11.
11.
11.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Getting these big heavy
Getting those
tunes,
big
eh?
tunes, you know, and you just learned them.
Aye.
And you didn't know any different. He told you to do it, so you did it.
Fantastic.
So it was super. And then when he left the school after 1 year, my parents talked to him about further instruction, and he pointed me to John McFadgen, who was doing summer schools in North Carolina in the United States. And so when I was 13, I went to my first summer school with John McFadgen.
What year would that be around? Just for
That would have been 1974.
Great. Okay.
And I was with John up until his death. In 1977, he invited me to come across and live with him and his family in Busby. Yep.
Yeah.
In the schoolhouse there.
Yeah.
And
John was a head teacher.
he was a headmaster.
Yeah.
At that time, he was working for the Renfrewshire schools.
Yeah.
He was no longer headmaster.
Okay.
But he was a headmaster, and he brought me in and took me into his home, and his wife Sheena and the family. They were just fabulous to me, and that's where I started getting a sense of what this was all about and what it could be about.
Could I just maybe take you back there, because I don't want to lose sight of both Donald Shaw Ramsey and John McFadgen. I'd like to just flesh it out a wee bit.
Right.
Did you start your pibroch with Donald Shaw, or was it more the light music with Donald?
It was
Shaw?
mostly light music. He had taught me Lament for Mary McLeod, but I mean, there's nothing serious there in terms of pibroch construction. That was the first tune I ever learned.
Right.
But it was more light music, and it was, you know, you put a great emphasis on execution,
Yes.
more so than music, you know,
Uh-huh.
than expression.
Okay.
Without great execution, he had no use for you. Because I think, well, as
It's
it's
the
been
basics,
proved,
isn't it?
yeah, you can create a player with great execution, but they can have great music, but if they don't have execution, then they're only going to go a certain.
They must go
certain-
hand in hand, really, both the music and the execution.
Oh, they do, and as you
Yeah.
get better and better, you understand how the execution is an integral part of the expression of the melody.
And in these early days, no doubt, it changed later on. How about the tempo of, say, a 2/4 march? How was it played slow or was it up tempo?
We were taught to play things. I can't. So that's hard to answer. I know that we mostly played things what you would consider a normal tempo at the time. Now, I'm sure in the MSRs, our first MSR, the first MSR I ever played in the band as a kid with Donald Shaw was Ms. Elspeth Campbell, Maggie Cameron, and Cabaret.
Okay.
And you know,
That's quite up tempo.
Quite
in
up-tempo.
today's terms, a lot
Yes.
today's terms.
Yes,
Much of today's playing's got very careful.
it has because I think because there's so much more emphasis on unison and bringing out the execution.
Okay.
I think that carefulness has to be there. It's very few bands can play that I'm hearing today in grade one even playing March to Spades and Reels get the swing
Yeah.
that you might have heard from bands 30, 40 years ago. You know,
Correct.
old recordings.
Yes.
But of course they didn't have the sound, those bands didn't
No,
have the execution.
No.
You know, they were just having a great old time.
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. So that was Donald Shaw. Your marches were fairly up and good execution. So what else did you pick up from Donald?
Just this sense of don't come in and work with him if you're not giving him your best. And that was it. I mean, he was very demanding. And again, if you didn't come in prepared, he had no use for you.
How many hours of practice per week, roughly?
Oh, at least when he was there, it was at least 7, 8 hours of your own practice each week, plus band practices, which were every day for about an hour. So there was a lot, and a lot of that was just memorizing tunes.
Yeah. So
Learning tunes,
you're building
learning
up stamina, you're building up good memory,
Yeah,
your dexterity, fingers, and it's all happening.
Absolutely, and that intensity early on made it much easier for me as I got older. I could learn a tune in no time. I could learn a Piebrook
Yeah.
in no time.
Yeah.
You know, my wife can't understand why I can learn Donald Band McCrimmon, but can't remember what to get at the grocery store. You know?